Welcome to the Parsha Perspective. Each week, we will delve deep in a weekly Torah portion to find a practical and insightful way to enhance your daily life. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Shalom Yemini. Each week, we will look into the weekly Torah portion to find inspiration that will complement your daily life and intensify your connection to God. This week's Parsha Perspective is dedicated in memory of Shlomo Ben Edward. May his soul be uplifted and his memory a blessing. This week's Torah portion is Parshas Shelach. Our Parsha begins with the episode of the spies' reconnaissance of the land of Israel. The Jewish people lacked faith in what God had told them about the land, so they asked Moshe if they could send spies to study Israel and report back their findings. Moshe asked Hashem, who replied that he's allowed to send spies, but he himself is not commanding him to do so. Moshe then picked one leader from each tribe and assigned him with this special task. The spies headed out to perform their directive. They spent 40 days surveying the land and its inhabitants. And when they returned to Moshe, they reported back that the land is indeed flowing with milk and honey. However, they warned that its citizens are giants who are powerful and mighty, and its cities are well fortified and therefore will be impossible to conquer. The Jewish nation turned to Moshe and told him that they would rather return to Egypt than to be defeated in battle. Upon hearing their complaints, God informed Moshe that he was going to punish the Jewish people for their persistent lack of faith. He exiled the Jewish nation to 40 years of wandering throughout the desert and banned any male over the age of 20 from ever entering the land of Israel. The Parsha concludes with a rather interesting story. The story of a man who was caught gathering wood in direct defiance to the laws of Shabbos. The men who found him brought him before Moshe Rabbeinu to be judged. Moshe Rabbeinu asked Hashem what should be done, as he did not know what to do. Hashem replied that this person must be stoned for breaking Shabbos. However, a question comes to mind. How did Moshe not know what to do in a case where a person is clearly breaking Shabbos? Didn't Moshe Rabbeinu himself bring down the 2 sets of luchos and spend many days and nights studying the Torah with God himself? Why did he ask Hashem what should be done in a seemingly obvious situation? The Gemara in Baba Basra explains that the reason Moshe Rabbeinu had to ask Hashem what to do in this case was because the man in question was a righteous person, was a tzaddik. As we see in Parshas Pinchas, that his name was Salavchad, and his daughters were called righteous for being instrumental in fundamentally changing the laws of inheritance. The Kliyakar writes that they learned their righteousness from their father Tzlavchad. The Taisvis in Baba Basra now clarifies that Salavchad's rationale for breaking Shabbos was only for the sake of God, because many people were saying that since Hashem decreed that no one will enter the land of Israel, there was no longer an obligation to perform any mitzvahs. So Tzalachad stood up and desecrated Shabbos to show the Jewish nation the consequences of such actions. However, the Lubavitcher Rebbe writes that although his intentions were pure, his Shabbos desecration could not be excused. For keeping and guarding the Shabbos demonstrates that our belief in Hashem in his creation of the universe. As we say in davening on Shabbos morning, V'shamru b'nei Yisrael es ha-Shabbos, Lasos es ha-Shabbos l'dereisam bris olam. Beiniu v'nei Yisrael oisi le'olam ki sheishes yamim asa Hashem es ha-shamayim ve'asa aretz u'b'yom hashvi Shabbos v'yinafash. And the Jewish people shall keep the Shabbos, for observing the Shabbos throughout the ages is a covenant for all of time. It is a sign for all of time between me and the Jewish nation, because in 6 days Hashem created the heaven and earth, and on the 7th day he rested from work and was refreshed. In our daily life and during these trying times, it is imperative that we understand that our actions, no matter how big or small, have real value. This is both an amazing privilege, but a great responsibility. Because since we are given the freedom to choose, we are accountable for all decisions we make. Therefore, it's essential that we consider the consequences of our actions before they happen. We need to ask ourselves if this decision will lead me closer to reaching my goals and accomplishing my potential. There's an amazing quote that I once heard. Intentions do not isolate us from the consequences of our actions. Good intentions might sound nice, but it is a positive deed that matter. Have a great weekend and a good Shabbos. Thank you for tuning in to the Parsha Perspective. Check out our website, theparshaperspective.com. Send thoughts and comments to theparshaperspective@gmail.com. Till next time, thanks for listening.